So I think we are live right now. If we are, make sure to leave a message in the chat. But we are officially back with another episode of the Personal Collection. We got a special Wednesday episode just due to some scheduling conflicts this week. We decided to push it back over to Wednesday. Couldn't make it Thursday, and also Flipping Steve couldn't as well. But it's gonna be a fun episode because Steve has a mixture of non-sports like music cards, as well as some football, and also is getting into vintage baseball. We actually talked at the Philly Card Show about one of his recent pickups, which you guys could see in the thumbnail, the 1951 Bowman Maze. Before we start this episode, though, just want to let you guys know that we're doing SGC subs. One of the ways we're trying to grow the channel is through those, so you guys can see a music card. We just graded Queens of the Stone Age rookie card, 2002 Coachella, and playing day Ty Cobb strip card. Not 100% sure if this is a rookie card, but earliest card known right now. And you guys can find out more information on SGC subs. I go in the link down below in the description. If you send 40 cards on average, you save about $100 by sending it through us. With that being said, I'm going to add on Flipping Steve, and we're going to be talking about his collection. How's it going, man?
Hey, yo, what's up? How you doing? Stream close up.
What was that?
Stream close up.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, but I'm glad to have you on the channel. We talked about it a few weeks ago after Off Center to have you both and Dustin on the channel. Did Dustin of 2 or 3 weeks ago, and now it's time to dive deep into music cards and also a little bit of football and baseball. So welcome on, man.
Hey, man. Yeah. So, I think my collection is going to be all over the place. I know it's going to be all over the place. And a lot of people have seen some of my stuff because I do mail day videos and things like that. But, I have sports and a whole bunch of other stuff. So it'll be cool to look at some of the stuff. I've been busy reading most of the day. I was reading my book here.
Book right over there too. No, I can tear it over there.
And figure I always keep that. It's right here in my bookshelf in my new man cave in my new house. I have 2 books on there. One of them my daughter bought me, which is a how to organize your cards type book. And the front of it looks like a Michael Jordan rookie. And
interesting.
This book and this book here. So 2 books on the shelf.
I'll be honest, my PC, like organizing, I don't really have a good organization method. I just collect too much stuff.
Oh yeah, this book, like I'm not even sure what the book is all about that my daughter gave me. It was just something that she had threw in a pile of gifts for Christmas, so it was kind of cool.
Got it. And we got a bunch of people in here too as well. We just had Michael Ham, we had Orlando, Wizard Albies, Justin Jefferson fan. So we got 20 people in the live already. So perfect with that. Over here. So besides Philly, did you get any new? Oh, actually, we should talk about your Bowman Musial rookie that you just picked up. I think that's a good starting point for this episode.
Yeah, we can pick that one up. That one just came a couple days ago. I'm shooting a video with it, but I don't mind showing it now because my videos.
Sorry for ruining the surprise.
Yeah. No. My videos tend to be few and far between. So, and the thing is that video coming out is going to be like a troll thumbnail where I'm going to be like, I've gotten 2 big Bowman firsts, right? And everybody's going to be like,
that is true though. Although I did
right, it's true. But
I did read that Fanatics is doing like superfractors now or something like not superfractors, but like some type of special edition for Hall of Famers that they're going to throw like Chrome product version. I have no idea what they're going to end up doing with it, but
yeah, it's like when you say Bowman first, people automatically jump to the modern guys and the autograph cards and things. Like the Juan Soto is super popular and things like that. So that's what's kind of going to be like the thumbnail, and then people are going to get to see 2 vintage Bowman cards instead. So there's a little spoiler alert. There's a little spoiler alert, but so it's in my hand right now. We'll go ahead and show it. It's a 48. If my lighting is good enough, but it's a 48 Bowman Stan Musial. Now it's in a PSA. It's in a PSA 3.5. So it's in a PSA 3.5, but I was looking at 4s. I thought this one looked really good for the grade. Sometimes it's hard to find the in-between grade. You'll find a 3 or a 4. I wanted something a little better than a 3. So I was looking at the 4, and then a 3.5 popped up, and I got it for a good price because it was going at auction. Right now, let me see if I can get some focus. But, right now, buy it nows, especially on vintage, are pretty high.
They are.
And most of my vintage I want to buy in person. The reason I was able to grab this one is because it was at auction. So auctions typically tend to go lower than buy it now prices. And so I grabbed on this one while I had the chance. The funny thing is that when I was buying the Willie Mays in Philly, right next to the Willie Mays was two of these. Like they were sitting right next to each other. And I'm starting to like dive into vintage, and I want to start with the Willie Mays. And then every time I went back to that showcase to look at that Willie Mays, I saw two Stan Musial sitting next to it. So I was like, my grandfather always talked about Stan Musial.
He's one of the best. And like, in my opinion, the hobby doesn't value Musial where it really should. That's at least my opinion, because if you look at his statistics, he's easily top 10, top 15 player of all time. You lump him in that era. I mean, some people would prefer to have Musial over Mantle, but again, you're talking about the New York market versus St. Louis, and there's a lot larger of an audience space in New York.
Yeah, and as I collect a lot of on-card autos, especially of Hall of Famers, and because Stan Musial was somebody my grandfather always talked about, even though I never got to see him play, he used to tell me about him a lot. I had bought a 99, the SP signature autograph of him. So I had already had a card in my collection because of the relationship with my grandfather. And then when I started buying vintage rookie cards, it just made sense to be like, okay, I bought an autograph of him because of my grandfather. Now let's go back and get the rookie card.
Now, with Musial, did you specifically target the Bowman, or were you also looking at the Leaf at the same exact time? I mean, you don't have the luxury of grabbing a Topps card until like the late 50s. So it's always going to be a Bowman, or you can go a little bit earlier. He has some interesting stuff from 46 and 47, but those don't really pop up that often.
Okay, so I did look at the Leaf. As someone that's not very well versed, I'm not sure which one the hobby actually values more. But because I was looking at the cards, the Leaf was in color. That was the one thing I liked it had going for it. But I like the photo on this. I like that it's just a straight portrait shot of him. You can actually see what he looks like, the old school hat, and and the black and white feel as opposed to the color makes it feel old. Even though the color cards are great, it makes it, to me, it makes it feel older. It has, I was talking to you earlier about how I think these cards have character.
Yeah.
Not just the photo, like the photo of him swinging the bat. Yeah, that's great. But like, did they say, hey, Stan, we're snapping a photo for you for a product, for a baseball card for a bubblegum company or whatever? And he stood there and let him take that photo? Or is this a photo that was taken for the newspaper or the press or something and then was used? I mean, you really don't know necessarily where the photo came from. But I think as far as a lot of older cards go, like his photo, and not just because it's him, you don't see a lot of them, at least I haven't yet, that like is just a straight photo that looks like something out of a photo album. So I kind of liked this one just because of that over the action shot of like the Leaf. The Leaf just was in color, but
I have the Leaf in my collection, but I am going to eventually sell it to upgrade to that Propagandist. I've lost out on that Propagandist card 3 times now, 3, maybe 4. Mm-hmm. So eventually when a deal eventually lands, then I'll sell my Leaf one out. And if you ever want it, you're welcome to do that. Otherwise, I'll sell it to someone else. But I was going to say, that, the next 48 Bowman that you have to chase? Yogi Berra.
Yogi Berra?
Yogi Berra.
I have a list of vintage cards right now, and they're all, they're going to be checked off the list one at a time because they are pricey. And that was one thing I liked about the Musial, was because I got the Willie Mays, and then I'm looking at the list of cards that I kind of want, and I'm like, okay, these are going to really be spaced out because of the price points on these, even in very low grades. But I found in comparison to the other ones that I was looking at that the Musial was affordable, and I was like, you know what, that one's affordable. Let me go knock that one out. It's not cheap, but like I said, in comparison to the others, I mean, this, I won this at auction for $1,170, so a little bit under $1,200, and that's a lot of money. I know $1,200 is a lot of money, but when I'm looking at Ted Williams play ball cards, and I'm looking at, Jackie Robinson Leaf cards, and I'm looking at what are some of the other ones I have on the list?
The 51 mantle.
The 51 mantle is kind of like a pipe. It's kind of like pipe dreamish. Like I don't even concentrate on the mantle, and I know you need to have a mantle in your collection. I get that, but I believe his prices are like super
absurd,
inflated. Like I don't want to say that they're not worth what people are paying for them, but they're more than what I kind of want to pay for them when I look at what else I can get for my dollar.
Well, I think the problem with mantle cards right now is all the people that collected modern cards started going. I wouldn't say all of them, but like a percentage of modern collectors started going backwards, and everyone hears mantle. And now, I mean, don't get me wrong, mantle's always been more expensive than everyone else, even though his production wasn't there. But I think right now with the influx of new people into the hobby, they're moving backwards, and then they think of mantle as number one, especially with the 1952 tops, and they're focusing on that, the 51, 52, and other people are getting those lower grades and mid grades, and the thing is skyrocketed because of that. And that's at least my opinion. I think that's going to eventually happen to mantle cards. Who knows when that will take place? But at the same time, you still have all those vintage buyers and people getting into vintage cards that are always going to still want to have a mantle in their PC or mantle as inventory. So it's kind of like a dual-edged sword. Like, do you think it's going to go down, or are people going to continue to go into vintage cards and pivot a little bit away from modern? So that's a little bit of the hard thing.
Yeah, and I just think with mantle, I think a lot of it is the Yankee effect. I mean, if you look back on it from the time of when I was collecting in the 90s, you have the same effect on like Jeter stuff. It's kind of like the Yankee effect. I'm not saying Jeter was not a Hall of Famer or a great player, but in comparison to some people that were playing at the same time as him.
I agree. And it's interesting though. Jeter prices have been going down like the last 2.5 per year. So if you're tracking them, which I didn't really expect that, especially as SP being so popular. I'm going to just go through a few comments real quick before I forget them. Orlando says a beautiful Musial. Congratulations.
Thanks.
And then don't forget the Hulk smash, Wolverine slash, or Shohei Ohtani strike, the like button, guys. Appreciate it, man. He's watching from Japan, so it's always cool to see. And then, Steve, you bought that from eBay, right?
Yes, this was an eBay. This was actually an eBay auction. Yes, it was. I haven't been able to get out to a show since the Philly show. And the thing is I want to buy cards. I think I said this on either one of my videos or on Off Centered last week. I want to buy cards, but I don't want to buy online. I want to buy in person, especially when I'm buying the vintage stuff.
I agree with the vintage stuff, but like your music cards, you're not going to find those at shows.
Oh no, the music stuff,
you got to buy it online.
Oh, okay,
so that's another discussion.
Yes, I do have lots of. So I was so hooked in on vintage. Yeah, I've bought lots of stuff since the Philly show. It's just not vintage. My bad. I have.
No, you're good.
Yeah, I'm like, I have stuff.
Like, show me those dealers at the shows that are selling the music cards, man, because I can never find them there.
I've had 2 items come in the mail yesterday. I had a couple things come earlier this week. I've bought a couple patch autos of basketball players, but these are all cards. The sports cards are all in that $200, $300, $400, $500 range, and then the music stuff, I try to get it as cheap as I can, but ultimately sometimes I just got to pay what I got to pay for it because that's the only one that's my option. So yeah, and I bought some stuff then, and I bought a ticket, which you've seen. I did put that in a video, but my videos that I do on non-sports cards don't get views. I know that going in. I don't care. I still do the video anyway because I like the cards. So a lot of people probably haven't even seen the stuff from that video.
It's such a super niche collector base, and at the same time, people like even searching. People aren't going to be searching. Oh, what's 1972 Cantanti Pink Floyd or 72 Led Zeppelin Cantanti? Like people, it's just not what people know about as well. I'm going to go through a few more real quick too before I forgot on that side of things. Paul said, "Thing I love about Steve is lack of compromise. You rarely see a non-banger in the collection." And then we got Orlando. Great to see Steve buying vintage cards. Absolutely. What's up, Jordan? A lot of great players have caveat against them. Mantle doesn't really have one, although he did use a cork bat. I didn't know he used a cork bat, so that's something new. I didn't know he got banned from baseball a little bit because of him and Mays signing autographs in casinos. Funny how that changed.
Oh, I didn't know that.
And then I prefer buying in person too. You create a better memory picking it up when you buy in person. Most of the time, like you can still have some good memories. Like when I bought my 1992 Genki Nirvana, I bought it at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, and at the same time, Nirvana song was playing in the background. We lost you for a second.
Yeah, I was cleaning my camera off. It's so humid at my house. Like we've had 2 days in a row of really good weather, and where I live, it gets really humid. So when it starts getting humid, like everything just
no worries.
Look at my face. Like I'm just sitting here probably sweating. It's like the worst. Like the temperature might be 70 or 75 outside, which feels great, but then the humidity comes in and it's like thick, and it's like making my camera and me like look all hazy and stuff.
All good. Let's see some more of your vintage baseball cards, especially that maze that I keep.
Yeah, I can show the maze, and to be honest, the vintage baseball is not going to run much farther than the two that I just picked up because like I started right out of the gate with the maze. So yeah, I have it here, of course. But this is kind of like, usually you dip your toes in when you start. I kind of splashed a little bit, and now I'm tiptoeing a little bit more.
That was a big splash.
But
that's a good one though.
Yeah, there's the maze. It's been reholdered, so when I bought it, it was in the old SGC holder. The centering is not the best, but it's a 1.5. There's going to be stuff wrong with it, so you just kind of basically with a 1.5, you got to kind of pick the one thing that you want to be good about it. Because the rest of it is going to probably be beat up pretty much. And I just thought that the color was pretty good for a 1.5. The resolution was really good. The same seller had a 3, and I was thinking about buying the 3, but above the hat along here, it was fuzzy looking. Like it looked like the resolution of the picture wasn't very good. So even though it was a higher grade, I didn't like. Now, if it might have been over here or something, it would have been so much. What's important to me is I don't like because there are small creases here, like by the bat and things like that, but there's nothing on his face. To me, that's important that the face is clear. And that may change because, like I said, I'm new. I mean, how long ago was the Philly show? But
that was a month ago. I think that was my last card show vlog too. It was early March.
And it doesn't have a beat up back. Like the back looks good. Sometimes these look like they could have been wet or stuck.
There's a lot of gum stains on those too.
Yeah. So the back's clean. Of course, you prefer for the front to be really good, but it appeals to me. Like I like it. I think it's a pretty solid 1.5, if that makes sense.
That does. No, the thing is with like a lot of 1.5s, you can still find event every once in a while cards with like a small minor pinhole. If it presents nice, you get a 1.5. You have cards that have writing on them, and like it could either be like a small letter or like a small pencil mark, all the way to someone like writing a fake signature on a card, still get a 1.5. Like it's interesting on that side of things.
There was another dealer there with a PSA. It was either a PSA 1 or a PSA 1.5, and it was priced about $600 more than this one. But and it looked a little bit more centered, but it had a crease that went from like this corner. Well, it was this side. It went from this side all the way across like his forehead. And it wasn't like a wrinkle type crease. It was like actual, like the card had been folded over and folded back.
Oh,
so it was pretty beastly. And the rest of the card looked better than the rest of my card, but
it's the one thing over there.
It just was that crease. And I'm just like, you know what? I would rather have some banged up corners and some off centering than have a crease across his face.
It's a good card, though, to get into the vintage side of things. Do you have any vintage football? Because I know you do collect quite a lot of football cards.
No, actually, I don't, because my sports card collection is small. I was telling you this before we came on. My sports card collection is very small because I tend to hold 1 or 2 high-end cards of the players that I collect. So I kind of collect like quality over quantity. Because the players that I collect have lots of cards. I'm a Larry Bird fan, a Dan Marino fan, a Cal Ripken fan. And then I will go around and buy cards of players that I might have like a small memory or something with, like Stan Musial, like the autograph that I had bought prior. I don't collect Stan Musial, but at least I didn't at the time when I bought that. But I bought that because it was just a player my grandfather used to always talk about. So my sports card collection is actually kind of small. And to be honest, Yeah, I'm buying a lot of vintage, and I plan on holding on to my vintage cards for a long time. But I'm also viewing the vintage more so as like a long term. People hate when you say the word investment. I know that, but I look at the vintage as more of a, hey, I'll buy these cards, and I just feel safer buying these cards to hold for 15 years than I do something modern. So I'm not buying these to flip, but I am buying these in hopes that 15 years down the road, they will have appreciated in value.
Makes sense.
So,
Well, let's take a look at some of your other modern cards of some great players. I mean, you mentioned Ripken, Marino. People would definitely like to see those.
all right. So I'm actually fishing for a Ripken card right now. I lost an auction for one of the bat knobs. I think it was Bowman Sterling. It was an autograph with the bat knob, 1 of 1. Because
geez.
that's kind of what I collect when I chase after some of the modern players. I like to get the card that if I go somewhere with it, I'm the only one with it in the room, kind of. So my only other Ripken that was in my PC, I actually got rid of to another Ripken collector because, even though it was a PC card for me, sometimes you find somebody that you can tell is really excited about that card even more so than you are. And that's kind of what the hobby is about. Is sometimes you got to pass on one of your items to somebody else if you feel like it's going to mean more to them. And this was a dual auto that I had of Cal Ripken and Ernie Banks. Again, another player my grandfather used to talk about. And it was a dual auto card. And I got rid of it at the Atlantic City National last year to another guy who had tons of Cal Ripken stuff. He was a big time Cal Ripken super fan. And he saw that card in my box, and I was kind of like, well, the Ripken's kind of like not available. It's kind of like my Ripken PC. And he was like, man, you see these Ripkens? He was like, man, this is Ripken. This is my guy. And I think since then I've seen him on Instagram showing that he's chasing a Donruss Elite Cal Ripken Jr. auto, like from the 90s or whatever. And he's trying to get all of them. I think there was a certain amount of them made. And he's got a bounty out on one of the ones that he doesn't have because they're serial numbered. But anyway, I got rid of that to him. If we're talking a modern card, my two favorite football players ever is Dan Marino and Peyton Manning. So I have the co-signers, Stadium Club, which had better lighting. Let me see if I can get this light.
That's what, from like early 2000s or late 90s?
This is 1998. So this is Peyton Manning's rookie.
Oh, wow.
And then Dan Marino.
A really good rookie card.
Yeah. So, and then Dan Marino was a co-signer on there. So, veteran auto, rookie auto, and then it's a gem mint right now, 9.5, but it is 3 9.5s and a 10. So if Beckett was to change their label, this would be sent to
become a 10.
A 10. Yeah. And the auto is a 10. And that's what's important because these cards, this was in 1998. This is the first year that they were putting pack pooled football cards into packs like regularly. Like Contenders rookie ticket started it. That's Peyton Manning's like Grail card, the 98 playoff Contenders ticket. But if you look at any autos from 1998, the autographs didn't stick to the card very well. It was either the pen or it was either the card surface. You can find these cards listed on eBay, but the autographs will have bled through the card or almost be completely not even visible anymore. So this looks a lot better. It's just my lighting is terrible. But I've had this card for a long time now. Well, a couple years. I went to the Dallas card show a couple years ago. The Dallas card show that everybody kind of went to because it was the first big show after the pandemic. And we weren't sure if the National was going to happen. And so I saw this card on eBay, but I didn't want to buy it on eBay for the price they were asking for. And I found it in a showcase in Dallas, and it was the same seller. It was the same card that I had seen on eBay.
That's perfect.
Yeah, I was just walking by out of the corner of my eye, and I saw it, and I was like, oh, wow, I'm looking at one of these on eBay. And then the guy, after we made the deal for it, he had to go to eBay and pull his listing. So it was the exact card that he had listed on eBay, but by getting it in person, I got it almost for half of his price that he had it listed for on eBay, and I buy it now. So
well, you guys both save money on that one too with the fees, and
yeah,
plus taxes and everything like that. That makes sense.
Right, and we'll breeze through the sports cards because we got to talk a lot about the other stuff.
Absolutely.
I like to keep.
On your sports card, David.
Johnson. Yeah.
Oh, I was gonna say, David asked, "Do you have any WWE?" I know it's like a mixture between sports and.
I do. I do in my other case. Let's see.
Or we'll get to it after you do your sports
card.
Yeah,
because I got sports card case on top, and then I got all the alternative stuff. And I don't mean just alternative music. I mean alternative everything. In the bottom case. I'm a Larry Bird collector, but I cannot have a Larry Bird in my collection without having a Magic Johnson. So my Larry Bird that's in my collection is a Panini Noir auto laundry tag. This is numbered out of 2.
Dang.
So this is a pretty big card here. Anything of Larry Bird numbered under 5 is, especially with a laundry tag on it, is, you can't see the auto that good because of my lighting, but it's a gold signature here. The auto does have the 10 grade on the back. So this one I've had for a while also. I picked this up. Well, I guess I've had it over a year. So Culture Collision in Atlanta, not this past one, but the year before. Right after that, because I did well selling cards in Atlanta. And I was like, you know what? I sold a lot of cards that I didn't want. I've done well. I'm going to take some of that money and I'm going to put it away. And I'm going to take some of that money and go buy myself something for my PC. And that was the card I ended up buying for my PC. This also came out of the Philly show. This is fresh back from Beckett. They spanked me on the grade. Luckily, it's a 2006 or 2005 Upper Deck Exquisite, so the grade doesn't hurt it as bad, but it's in a 7.5. I haven't showed this on a video yet. This is a Noble nameplates Magic Johnson game use patch auto out of 25. The auto got a 10, but the card they hit me on the surface pretty tough. The surface got a 6.5.
Ouch.
Centering got a 9.5. Edges got a 9. Corners got an 8. I really looked this card over when I got it, and I thought if anything was going to hurt it, it was going to be the corners, which the corners did get an 8. But I didn't see anything on the surface, not even on the hollow foil. I didn't see any scratches. I didn't see any dimples. I really thought the weakest thing about this card when I bought it was the corners. So I'm not surprised with the 8 on the corners. But I thought the card itself would grade an 8. You know, that's what I was hoping for when I bought it. I was like, if it grades an 8, I'm good, because of what I put into the card. Now, I didn't really put a whole lot into it looking at what I gave up for it, because the stuff that I gave up for it was stuff that had all increased in value since I'd gotten it. And it was a bunch of, I gave some Jordan Love cards. I was buying Jordan Love in January, and Aaron Rodgers is talking about being traded. So all of his stuff is had a 30% bump. So even though what the guy was asking for trade in this is not technically what I gave up for it, out of my pocket. He wanted $2K in trade. So I gave him $2K in trade, but the $2,000 worth of cards that I gave him was actually probably about $1,100 that I had spent on the cards that I traded. That makes sense. So I'm into the card for that much, but I did give up that much in trade for it. The card to me still looks awesome, but Beckett disagreed on the center or the surface, and that's fine. The card still looks awesome, and that's my Magic Johnson in my collection now. And then I got a bunch of smaller ones because they're just I like late 80s, mid 90s NBA players. So I like Isaiah Thomas. So I have an Isaiah Thomas card in my collection, and I've had different ones that just filter through, and every time I try to get a better one, but the patch on this one is just crazy. Karl Malone to Mailman. This one has a crazy good patch on it. But I only have one. I don't have a whole bunch. This Charles Barkley. And I always look for chunky game use stuff. I don't like, it has to be something that's going to set it apart from the others. Like this one's numbered out of 10. I've seen another one of these for sale from the same set. That's a different serial number, but the patches are nowhere near this. So I'm picky on my patches and stuff. So that's just some stuff. I do have, this whole one side of my case is PC stuff, but some of it's just not what people would call crazy good. It's just on my PC because I like it. I mean, here's a Willie Mays auto with a little game use swatch on it, and this is numbered out of 15. It's not PC. I do have a pretty mean Dan Marino card here. This is a
logo there.
This is an auto printing plate, National Treasures 1 of 1 with a game use patch. Now, the difference with this patch, and this is hard to explain to people when they try to say, hey, do you want to get rid of that? This patch is silk screened. So this came off a jersey before they started stitching the numbers and started stitching the logos and stuff on it. So this has to come from the mid or early to mid 80s. This has to come from 84 to like 88, I would guess, because this is when they were using the silk screening on the jerseys. So some people don't understand that. So it's kind of like, oh, it's just a Dan Marino 1 of 1 patch. It's not super special, but if you understand that the time frame and of which they were using and what kind of, if you're buying something from 90s on, it's not going to have a silk screen patch in it.
Is there like a premium for those as well, I assume?
I don't know. I've never seen another silk screen patch. That's why to me, I think it's like really cool. But once like I've had people want to get this card from me, and I tell them what I kind of value it at, and we're always a little bit off. And when I tell them, hey, you're not going to find many of any player, period, where you have a silk screen patch, as opposed to like, I know people like the chunky patch, the chunky, it's got a big piece of, but this was pre that. This was back like when the jerseys had all their little holes in them and the stuff was silk screened on, like Rawlings stuff. I don't know if you remember Rawlings.
Those are cool.
Rawlings was a shirt manufacturer.
Well, they also do a lot of stuff with baseball still.
Yeah, they got like a Barry Bonds auto in here just because I would like to have a Barry Bonds card.
And he doesn't sign that much either, though.
Yeah, this was and I was watching your and Dustin's playback and talking about how you had stated how he had a dual license.
Yeah, he had his own license for a while, and that's why he wasn't put in a video game. It was like 2005, and there's someone put in the comments, but it still escapes me what it was. It's like MVP baseball or something like that.
Oh yeah, the baseball didn't have him in it also.
Yeah, and this was another player.
That's the one that I have, and I think Dustin has this same one graded by SGC.
Nice.
It says game used bat piece, but it's just a little splinter of the bat, and then it's signed.
And what's good, Pepino man? And then Paul says depends on the player. From Reno, you want earlier career, that would draw a premium, but it's more 1-1 for value on that. That's close to as good as it gets from Marino outside of a shield. So there you go.
Yeah, Marino Shield is a card that I would love to have. I've only ever seen one, and it wasn't for sale. It was another Marino collector just kind of flexing.
Shocker on that one.
Right, yeah. It was a nice shield. But you figure, when did the shields come along? They weren't always on the NFL jerseys, at least not the neck shield. So
probably the wrong person to ask. I'm not an expert on that side of things. But
yeah, I think the shields came, by a certain date. So if you're getting a game used shield, it has to be, you could kind of get a time frame on at least when it was used. Absolutely. Or when they started bringing them in.
Let's get maybe a few questions on sports cards, and let's move on to your non-sports / like alternative sports and different things like that.
Mm-hmm.
And then Paul said 92, 93 for shields. And then Michael said Marino shield just sold on eBay. What did that sell for? Curious.
Yeah, that was this, because the one that I saw was I think it was out of Flawless, and it was an on-card auto with a shield. And it was game used. Like nowadays, Logo Man and shields and some of that stuff is just cut off of a retail jersey and slapped into a card.
I hope that
exchanges blood and grass stains on it.
And then Pepino says Marino, my favorite all-time QB, 420 touchdowns.
Sweet. I think I may have grabbed a Marino card, also a different one. I'm not sure if I did. Because it's not a card. Oh yeah, we'll show this since I'm talking about Merino. This is I did grab this out for this. This is the 1984, so it's his rookie year, but it's the 711 discs. It isn't a PSA 10. You can't see it because of my lighting.
Oddball stuff right there.
But yeah, it flicks. It shows his face, and then when you flip it, it has the action. Has him throwing. And then this would be considered, I guess a rookie, whatever. It even has stats on the back. Some of these have blank backs. Some of the 711 stuff, as you'll see when we get into the music stuff. Some of the 711 stuff doesn't have anything on the back, but this is just cool. John Elway has one of these also. That would be considered a rookie year.
And then 930 for that Merino, and it was from Donruss certified.
Okay.
And then Orlando says, "I've got the 84 Police Merino."
Yes, I do have a Police Merino. They're a little bit larger, and they go into larger grading cases. I think that might be in a different box.
You're good.
Right.
And then we're going to about to take a look at those alternative and non-sports. But yeah, I was going to say the 711 stuff had music in 85, like one of the first Journey, and also who else was in there? It's Journey. There's like a Rush.
Oh, I can tell you. I think I pulled those out just to have them available. Look,
I think only SGC grades those right now. Which short plug if you guys want to get your stuff graded.
All right, so here are some of them since we're there. This is the Ozzy Osbourne.
Yep.
And so he has one. Dio.
Those are dirt cheap too. They're like $10 or less for a lot of these.
Here's the Journey you were talking about. Got old Steve Perry's mug up there. And then, this might be one of the most embarrassing cards in my collection.
Clip it.
Let's see. It's Bryan Adams.
Summer of what? 85.
60.
Sorry. I just messed that up pretty bad. That's gonna get clipped right there.
Billy Squire, Huey Lewis,
1985 cards.
Rat and Loverboy. I'll be jamming to some Loverboy every now and then too. What's the one I like? Loving every minute of it. Everybody likes Turn Me Loose and Working for the Weekend, but I like loving every minute of it. But yeah, there's some of those. Basically, somebody had like the set or most of a set, and they had them for sale on eBay as the set, so I bought them all. That's how I ended up with Bryan Adams, guys. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it. I didn't go and be like, I'm going to buy the Bryan Adams from my music collection. And you did say, we're going to knock this out now, because you did say that only SGC grades them. You would think that this was planned because I pulled right to it. I do have a Journey in an SGC.
There you go. Just like that.
SGC does grade these. Here they go. But this was picked up at the National this year in Atlantic City. Go figure. I was walking through a trade night, and this was laying on the floor in somebody's stuff. And I was like, yeah, I'll take that Journey.
I have a few of those. I need to get them graded eventually. But
Journey all the way to Atlantic City to get this thing.
It's weird though. Like Journey doesn't have a lot of cards in the 80s. I know they're in some of the different Brazil albums that I have, but like not all those. I have them with attached backs.
I will. Okay, I do have a couple more PC semi-sports cards in here that I didn't show. That's someone asked about a WWE card. This is I have this because I like Hulk Hogan. So I have I have the Allen and Ginter Hulk Hogan out of 10 on card auto. But I'm also a big Allen and Ginter collector. I like let me see if I can get this.
There you go.
It's a little better.
It's what, like 2006, I think, or am I way off on that?
This is actually 2015 because it's the 10th anniversary.
Okay.
The serial number is over here, numbered out of 10. But I'm I love the Allen and Ginter on card autos. If there's an oddball card out there or somebody who's a celebrity or something that's not, baseball, since it's a baseball set, I tend to always try to target the Allen and Ginter. Whether it's Tony Hawk or somebody else. I love the Allen and Ginter set.
One that you might have to target, and I rarely see them pop up. The Axl Rose. He apparently has.
I've seen it. I've seen it. They want a lot of money for it.
I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, they're always a couple $1,000s, and I'm
something like that. I didn't know Axl Rose barely signed. I mean, it makes sense. A lot of people don't like him for his attitude, but I mean, still, I didn't expect it to be that expensive. I'm like, all right, I'm not going to buy that for a few thousand.
And then I have 2 NASCAR cards. I have the Richard Petty, Jimmy Johnson. God dang it! Should be more prepared with my lighting. I'm ruining the live stream and I'm blinding everybody at the same time. But it's Richard Petty, Jimmy Johnson on card auto. You got to take my word for it, even though you can't see it. It's numbered out of 25. I won this at auction for $160, and these guys are considered probably the best of each of their era, right? Because then you always have the argument for Dale Earnhardt, which this is one of my favorite cards that I own. The Upper Deck Sign of the Times, Dale Earnhardt. It just doesn't get much better than this when it comes to a NASCAR card. And as far as a signature goes, it doesn't get much better than this, period. Like, he's the kind of guy that you could tell he had a big ego because he took pride in his signature, or he had a lot of confidence. That's a good thing. But I mean, this one is actually fairly new. I've had this one for maybe 2 years, year and a half. But I just wanted to get this one to add because people always argue and debate who are the 3 best racers ever. So, it's just kind of like.
And you'll never find a triple with all 3 unless there's a
nope. Right. Well, so that was some alternative stuff that I had, or alternative sports or other sports. We'll use that term, other sports, not alternative sports.
Now you have some NASCAR. Do you ever see yourself moving into F1 and getting at least like a 1 or 2 F1 cards, or do you just say, all right, I'm done?
No F1 for me. So I have a little bit of a history or NASCAR. I grew up around Dover Downs International Speedway. So two times a year, there would be a NASCAR race come, less than 20 minutes from my home. And growing up as a teenager and stuff, I would always get a job there, parking cars and doing things like that. And this was another thing that I did with my grandfather. I have so many things I did with him. When he retired, he would go there and park cars, and he knew the guy that ran the whole complex at Dover Downs. And he would get a job parking cars at what was called the credential trailer. Now, the credential trailer is where all the drivers have to go to sign up for the race. Everybody has to go in there and sign up for the race and get credentials and things like that, like for the pits and all that. Yeah, the drivers had to do that back then. Now, the top 10 drivers in the Winston Cup standings, now you can see how far back I'm talking. This is when it was the Winston Cup. The top 10 drivers in the Winston Cup standings did not have to come to the trailer to sign up. But if they had family members with them, they had to bring them and have them signed in to get credentials and stuff for the track. So I would stand up there and park cars all day, and the drivers would come and go. And sometimes I would get photos of the drivers, photos with the drivers, try to get autographs and things like that while I was supposed to be parking cars. But it was just something that I did growing up, and it was fun and it was memories. I don't collect a lot of NASCAR cards, but I remember buying cards at the track in 1988, like when the Max cards came out. The only place you could get them were at like the souvenir trailers at the track. So, yeah, that's kind of like I still have a bunch of Polaroid photos and pictures you would take to like Photo Hut. Man, you probably don't even know what Photo Hut is, but anyway,
you would not know what Photo Hut is.
You would take photos and you would take the film out of your camera and you would go to a place called Photo Hut, and then you would come back in like a week and they would have your pictures developed for you.
Man, how times have changed.
Is there anybody? Am I speaking a foreign language to everybody? Does anybody know what Photo Hut is in the comments? God,
you're gonna laugh. My entire audience is my entire audience is older than me. If you look at the demographics, 95% of people that watch the videos are older than myself. So probably my audience knows. So the 5% of my audience that's my age or younger does not know.
So I have lots of photos from the racetrack and of the drivers and stuff. I showed them on a live stream a while back. I just found them in an old box.
We got Dustin in here too. You got the new co-host. Literally go out of town for 3 days, and this happens.
Hey, man, you went out of town. You didn't invite me. You know, it's the way it is, man.
What part of Florida did you go to? I saw one of the recent videos that you said you're in Florida.
He was in the Pottery Barn. Where they have the Pottery Barn.
And then, hi, Dustin. Photo Hut, effing awesome. Who remembers the movie 1 Hour Photo? See, this is all lingo I don't know. So I'll let you say what that is.
So when we get into the music cards and such, or in other things, do you want me to just breeze through my absolute favorites, or do you just want me to show everything that I have?
Maybe a mixture of both. And then,
yeah, because I know it's kind of a time consuming, but I will.
Yeah, why not show like 10 or 15 cards or something like that?
Yeah.
And then Tampa, nice. That's where I grew up at. And then great movie, underrated. I think that had Robin Williams in it.
I'll start with my Tony Hawk stuff because Tony Hawk, I collect Tony Hawk. You know, not everything that he has because he has found his way into the Leaf product. So now he has every single Leaf parallel sticker autograph out there that they produce. I remember when it used to be special to get a Tony Hawk autograph because he wasn't in a lot of stuff.
It was Upper Deck, right? That he was in or something like that?
He was in, yes, the Goodwin's Champion stuff and the Topps Allen and Ginter stuff. You know, those sets that produce some of the oddball type things.
Fun stuff.
Now, if you still want a quality auto of his, like an on-card auto, then you still got to go with that stuff. But if you just want to spend $50 to $100 on a sticker auto from Leaf, and that can satisfy a lot of people, you know. So I have a Don Russ playoff. This is a Tony Hawk relic, skateboard relic card. It's just got a
I didn't even know he had a relic card.
Yeah, the good ones are the ones that have the grip tape on it. You know, you can get a grip tape card. This is like a piece of the wood from the board, but if you get a piece of the top of it, it actually will have grip tape on it, which is a lot cooler. I have the two Allen and Ginter. This is the Allen and Ginter silver frame out of 15 times 2. So I used to own a third. I used to own a third one, but I passed it on again to another Tony Hawk collector. And then I have his Zero Cool that came out in the Jackass Zero Cool set that came out. He actually was in that, so that was pretty neat. It's on card and it's out of 50.
Nice.
This is what would be the blue refractor. His normal one would be silver, and it would be like out of 100. And then there's a red one. I think that's out of 25. So there is a rainbow. There's even a gold. So because you could chase the rainbow on that. And then I have the Sports Illustrated and a BGS 8.5. This is what they do. They consider it as rookie. He does have a rookie card. I guess it's an error card that has him on the photo, but they have the name of somebody else. I think it's made by Chromie or something like that. It's an old skateboard set, and it has Tony Hawk doing a move on a ramp, or I think it's in a pool actually. He's doing a move, but it's the highlight is saying that it's somebody else, but the photo is of Tony Hawk. So I don't know how
the hobby uses it.
It's kind of like the market has kind of adapted the Sports Illustrated for kids as the card because it's like an official card. And the other thing, I'm not sure if it came out of a pack or where it came from. It would be cool to have that nonetheless.
I assume it's a lot rarer too.
Yeah. And I have a couple more quick skateboard cards here. 2 more of the Bones Brigade, which was Tony Hawk was a member of the Bones Brigade, Pal Peralta, skateboard company. This is Mike McGill. And again, these come from Upper Deck Goodwin's Champion. And this is Steve Caballero. A lot of people know him because he skateboarded for a long time, even when he got older. Now, the funny thing about these is growing up, I always wanted the Steve Caballero skateboard because his name was Steve. And when you're a kid, anybody that has the same name as you, you're like, oh, I like them. So I wanted the Steve Caballero board with the dragon on the bottom. But I ended up with a Mike McGill board. So when my dad was like, yeah, I'll get you a board for Christmas. Because that's how it was in my family. If you wanted something nice, you had to wait till Christmas. So it was like, yeah, Dad, I want the Pal Peralta Steve Caballero. And he got confused and got me a Pal Peralta Mike McGill. But The one with the skull on the bottom with the snake crawling through its mouth. I know you don't know, but I'm just saying maybe the people in the comments know what I'm talking about. The skull with the snake.
What I will tell you is Metallica has a 1987 card that has James Hetfield with 2 Metallica skateboards over his head. And that's going to be something you're probably going to be chasing now.
I have a card here, and I have a question about this card and a card that Paul, who is in chat, was talking about, a Metallica card that was a Brazilian sticker or something.
Okay. Yeah.
Did he say 80? Did he say 86?
So the first Metallica card is from 86. It's from Brazil. Oh, okay. First Metallica logo card is from 84. If you're looking at the band members, they're from 86. So the first cards of individual band members and also the group together is from 1986 from Brazil. But there's Ride the Lightning cards from 1984 that just show the album.
Okay. Because I have a Metallica card here, and when I bought it, it advertised what year it was. But it was so long ago that I don't even remember what year it is. And I want to submit it for grading, but I don't know what to put in the description. This is it says Metallica Series Q number 40. Premium rock shots, but it's like a small like Dutch card.
Okay, yeah, I think that is a Dutch card. I think that's 1990s because they have Guns N' Roses in that set as well.
Okay, I like this one because it still had Cliff in the picture. So
yeah, there's not many cards of Metallica that have Cliff in it. There's the 86, then there's another Brazil set from the 80s. I think it's 87 or 88 that still has some Cliff cards in there. And then I think that one was probably the last one distributed that has that in there. And obviously, then in the future, if any Metallica cards get produced, they're going to probably have a Cliff on a card or anything like that, assuming like if Fanatics or some other brand builds it out. But cross fingers on that one.
And you heard me talking about Pal Peralta a minute ago. This is actually a Stacy Peralta card. He was one of the owners of Pal Peralta Skateboard Company. And it's a sticker that says Thirst for Skateboarding on the back.
Nice.
So the sticker is really cool. So it's a card on one side. Once you peel the sticker off, you have the sticker right here to throw on your skateboard, and then you have a card left over of Stacy Peralta. So, but
what I did find out with those type of cards is if you remove the back to turn it into a sticker, they are no longer readable. That is the one thing I disagree with companies, because like if you look at other cards that are applied to albums from Cuba, right, you can still get them out of the albums and they have their clean backs. But if you look at a lot of German cards or also Brazil cards, like the backs are supposed to be peeled off. So you punish the kids or adults that use the albums as intended, not being able to grade it. I know it's super small niche, but I just think it's kind of like a gray area that I always try to bring up.
I have this card here, and I have a small story I can tell about this guy. 2, actually. But this is a Topps Archives. I think it's 2016 Bull Durham. This is the Tim Robbins Nuke Lelouch. I would like the Crash Davis of Kevin Costner, but it's really expensive. But I do have the Nuke Lelouch. But a funny story is I used to play softball. I used to play men's league softball, right? And I have a friend of mine who went to art school in New York, college called Purchase, New York. Purchase was the name of the college or whatever he went to. And he went for like directing, advertising, like doing commercials and stuff. And every year there would be a charity softball game. And there would be like a celebrity at that softball game and they would play. It wasn't full celebrities. It would just be like one person there that was like a celebrity. And then the rest would be like just a bunch of guys like me playing. And one year Tim Robbins was there. And he's a lot taller than he looks in person, but he can actually hit a softball like a bomb. Like it was like really good. But even more funny than that is another year when I did it, you might not even know who I'm referring to. I don't have any cards of him, but the celebrity guy was Michael Bolton. Do you know who Michael Bolton is? You don't know who Michael Bolton is? Anybody out there in the comments know Michael Bolton?
I'm sure a lot of people know he is. And
he had a really deep voice, and he had like long hair, and like he sang all the love songs, like "How Am I Supposed to Live Without You" and stuff. Like I don't know, he was really popular for his time. But he rolls out, he comes up with a case. You're like, man, he's got a case. He comes up with a case like you ever seen that movie The Natural with is it Robert Redford? plays Roy Hobbs or whatever, and he comes up, he has a case, he opens it up, he has a bat, he has his own like custom ass softball bat, like
That's
Michael
hilarious.
Bolton. I'm just like, this hilarious, because you have the story is more funny if you know who Michael Bolton is, because he kind of like, I don't want to say made fun of or like a joke, but because people listened to his music when he was popular. But it'd be kind of like if like Fabio, you probably don't even know who that is. I give up. Anyway, Fabio, if he came out there with a softball bat and wanted to play softball. But anyway, Brendan Ryan, I don't know who Michael Bolton is. So see, everybody needs to go to Michael Bolton and Google or go to play How Am I Supposed to Live Without You by Michael Bolton, and I guarantee you when he hits the hook of that song, you're like, I know that song. I've heard it. You've heard it somewhere. It's been embedded in your head. You've heard it in a restaurant or a hotel lobby, or you've heard it somewhere.
The funny thing is though, like with like classic
rock
artists, I can't play it on the stream, otherwise I get fully taken down. But like when I go to some classic rock concerts and things like that, they're like, did your parents bring you to this concert? No, I went by myself to this concert. And they're like, what? You went to this? Yes. Especially when I was in college and a lot younger too. People got so confused. It's so funny.
So I think these cards I have sleeved up to be graded, but can these be graded? These are like some.
So those are 85s. I believe those can be graded. Okay,
so they are 85s because the copywriting date says 84, so you never know.
Yeah, so those are 1985.
Okay, 1985. I have the Angus Young
because there's U2 cards in there, but U2's first cards were 1984. The black Panini ones. There are also some Brazil stuff from 84 too as well. But the first full band picture is from 85 Panini. They have two different. They have like two or three different types in there.
This is the U2 you were talking about.
Yep.
Yeah, and then they have the 85 smash hits. They have a vertical and a horizontal.
Yeah, so they have smash hits, and then they have Panini Tuto as well, which there's a card in there. Tuto is a lot more difficult to find. And then they have some Brazil stuff from 84. U2 Live is an album, which there is in that set. And then I think they have some other Brazil stuff in the 80s. I don't know if there's any band members in the 84 set. I don't believe so. 86, I don't think so either, but can't remember on top of my head.
So, and then I have this. I want to show these together. So, this is just I don't know, it says fans, something 186. This is a Patrick Swayze. And then this stuff has all been sleeved to be graded and from the same set as a Michael J. Fox.
I don't know for sure if fans would get graded. I can ask my contact over there. Unless they already have them graded, then you should be good. Some of those niche stuff, it's like a 50-50 chance if you can get those graded or not.
And this was a national pickup this year also at an autograph booth. This is from the Back to the Future card set, and it's signed by Michael J. Fox. Now, it's not a pack-pulled auto because they didn't have pack-pulled autos, and there was no Back to the Future original movie cards. They only put them out for Back to the Future 2. But this was just a card from that set that someone had signed and sent up by Beckett or certified by Beckett. And I got that for a cheap price. I saw that sitting there and the nostalgia kicked in. I love Back to the Future. Like if you, my camera behind my head. Anyway, there's a license plate for the DeLorean on my back wall back there if I had my camera set up right. But
and then Orlando said, enticing me to get some Rolling Stones cards. Yeah, they have some later cards in the 60s. They have so many from, I think it's 65 the year they produced tons and tons of sets. I don't know how well those will do in the future just because there's so many cards distributed. But you just have to find like the one-off oddball type stuff, and that's the ones that keep long-term. They have one that was distributed in a pack with gum, but there's other artists in there. It's escaping me what the set name is, but that would be to go toward 68 would be a classic too, especially if you can get some rare backs.
Let's see. I have. It's funny because you were asking if I gotten anything in the mail recently, and I did just get a Mick Jagger item. And like, I don't chase like first prints or copies. I mean, I do, but I don't prioritize those as much as the stuff that I think looks cool with this stuff. Here is the 68 Rolling Stones Panini.
There you go, Orlando.
This is in a PSA 9.
So
that's a pretty high grade for that.
That's really high because those
that's the regular back.
Regular back, yeah.
Yeah. And then I have what says 68 to 66 Dutch gum. You know, they always give weird years
they
on that.
kind of messed up. The thing I was going to tell people too is like with music cards, you can't always trust the labels on grading companies. Like the thing is, a lot of it's messed up. The years aren't going to be perfect. So do your own research on that side of things. And again, easier said than done with do your own research. But really just ask around on the specific datings with them. Hopefully a lot of this stuff gets fixed in the future, but hard to say.
Yeah. And even though a lot of the Dutch gum stuff is older than the Panini stuff, I feel like the 68 Panini stuff tends to draw the premium. It's almost like if you were to say, hey, First Prism, you know, kind of, you could kind of relate it. You know, it's like this is kind of like the first. This is,
but also, I mean, this is just taking a wild guess. I feel like there's a lot less of the Panini than there is the Dutch gum, and also with Dutch gum and how the years are, it confuses a lot of people. So that way, people don't really know what to search for specifically on that side of things. I mean, I've noticed that a lot with cards that are labeled across multiple years. People get confused with those, and they just aren't as popular. Like if you say 1952 Topps, like image appears in your head. If you say 1968 Panini, image appears in your head. But then you say like 66 through 68 Dutch gum or Swedish NASCAR 74 through 81. You're like all those years. I think it's the same issue that really affects a lot of exhibits baseball cards. They just really aren't desirable, because of the size and also that widespread amount of years. I think, and it's tough with the exhibits because those were actually distributed across all those years. But like in that theory, I just think people prefer cards that were a singular year release.
And one thing, and Dustin had touched on this in one of his videos once, where he was talking about the low pop counts on this type of stuff. Like this is a PSA 9, and how there's low pop counts, but you know, with some of the stuff, there's low pop counts because it just hasn't been graded. You know what? You could refer to like 85, definitely 95 Panini smash hits. You know, there's low pop, but there's lots of that stuff.
There's so much of those, but there's a lot more of those comparison to the 68 or 72 Panini.
But and that's what I was going to say. Like the 68 through 72, the 69s, you know, and stuff like that. Those you can't find them raw. It's hard to find raw copies on eBay. You can find raw copies of 85 and 95, but 68 and 69, that stuff. You can't even find raw copies to get graded for yourself. It's very difficult.
Except for the 85s that have different backs, because there's like a German back as well as like a French. I can't remember specifically. There's a few different years they have different backs, but there's like a German back. I think there's a French back and then just the normal backs as well. So there are some variations on that side of things, which are truly low pop. But also you have the problem is like a lot of cards with Europe don't actually make it over to the US, and people in Europe don't grade. Like a lot of collectors are anti-grading, or like it's such a smaller niche community over there compared to where it is over here. I mean, like
I'm just looking at the back of
in the UK is 30 or 40 different vendors there, and that's considered their national for vintage cards in comparison to over here where we have hundreds of dealers. So it's a completely different culture.
Right. And the most recent one that I just got this in the mail yesterday. This is a Mick Jagger. This is a PSA 7, which is also a high grade for the Valender stuff.
Oh yeah. These are
like matchbook, right? Covers, I believe.
Something
This is 74, but again, you know, but I think these were like matchbook covers, like they were on the cover of matchbooks. So it's hard to really find these in any kind of good condition.
I saw someone post on Instagram the Black Sabbath one, and that was one I still needed. And the guy is not selling. I was like, oh, and then he said he paid like $5 for it or something like that. Like, I will add an extra $0 and give that to you if you want to sell.
I have some Panini Smash hits here. I'm going to check the backs on these.
Paul, the guy literally paid $5 for his Black Sabbath, and I was shocked with that, man. I really, really wanted that.
Here's an Angus Young that I had also gotten from the 85 Smash Hits in a PSA 9.
That's
so cool. Again, that's a pretty good. I love this picture of him. This is one of his best pictures because he's just straight. He's in the middle of his solo. You can tell he's doing the stomp. He's probably about to do the skip down the stage. But yeah, I like that one a lot.
Speaking of ECDC, I really hope they do a tour this year. I know they're doing that Power Trip Festival over in California. That's expensive. It's $600, but like all the bands are legendary, but no card shows in the middle of the desert. So hoping they do a tour. And if that's the case, if they don't have a Florida date, which they should, because Brian Johnson lives in Sarasota, but assuming that they don't, I will fly to a show and do that type of stuff.
And you know, Brian Johnson's first card comes from the 75 pop stars.
So
he's in another band.
But it's interesting, right? Because then you have the argument of like, do you want Brian Johnson's first card in another band, or do you want his first AC/DC card? Which one would you rather have?
And then there's the argument of, would you rather have the band or just the main lead singer of the band?
Or if you go back to Metallica, their first logo on a card is 1984, but they don't have any band members till 86. So what would the hobby prefer? The 84 with the Metallica logo, or do you rather go to 1986 where you have the full band on a card? There's a lot of arguments out there to be made with music cards and also non-sports in general still that I think will be debated over the next few years, if not longer, like what's considered it. And the last music episode, we actually talked about like what is considered a true rookie card in music, because like in baseball cards or other sports, it's kind of black and white, right? Like what people consider a rookie card today. But on this side of things, you have the band logo versus first member card or whole group. Like, or do you also look at it? What's the most popular album that was distributed by the band? What's the card that was produced then? So hard to say. Like,
album. Like talking about someone like Jimmy Page, I believe in the 68 Cantante, he is on the Yardbirds sticker, correct? Is he on that?
No, he is not.
There's an earlier one. Then there's an earlier one that has him on it.
So there's a 1966 Monty Gum Yardbirds, but that has Jeff Beck on it.
Okay, I saw. Well, maybe I was reading. I didn't. I couldn't tell by the photo, but somebody was advertising it that way on eBay. They were like Jimmy Page's first card or whatever. So
Jimmy Page first solo is 74 Panini, I believe, unless something else has been discovered.
Oh, I have his. Yeah, I think that's this one.
I think it's with an acoustic guitar.
Is that this one?
Yes, that's.
Yeah, I mean, because I was going to say, because he has his stuff in Led Zeppelin and he has some older stuff, but by far this is probably his best image. Now it is a bigger sticker, so you got to get the bigger slabs and stuff like that. But this is just a killer. To me, this is a killer image of him. Yep. And Paul in the chat, I believe, sent me this. This was an Ozzy Osbourne from the same set.
74, yep. And we got a few people talking in the chat too about music cards, so I'm going to go through those before. Feel bad skipping last AC/DC tour. I'd never seen AC/DC live, so I really want to see them. So crossing my fingers they have that. Occasionally you do miss stuff. Like I ended up missing Tom Petty. I skipped his last tour. I just see Soundgarden literally that week, and I guess I was glad to see Soundgarden, but still kind of bummed never saw Tom Petty live. Pop Swaps 77. Yeah, so AC/DC has 277 Pop Swaps and also Monty Gum. The card that I recently discovered, they had a 1980 card that's distributed in Australian supermarkets. To my knowledge, it's the first card with the band with Brian Johnson. I got to show it on video, so I haven't really shown that yet. But they're the biggest card in the set. It's a regional release in Australia. Really, really tough. Figure Dustin, and you'll be back in Orlando soon. I will see you in Chicago. Paul says 86 by Mal. That's my preference on the Metallica card. Or do you want Ryan Johnson card collector too? Don't know what that
he got it mixed up. We got Ryan Johnson and Brian Johnson because we were talking about Brian Johnson.
Okay. Got it.
On the Gordy. Yeah.
I think it's cool that he is a card though, man. Like I think it's a great thing that they're highlighting people in the hobby. I feel like our rookie card music cards make no sense. That was the argument with the last music live stream, because it's like there'd be like 4 rookie cards. It's such a weird area. And then I lost the full Lynyrd Sabbath box to customs 3 years ago. The guy shipped with matches in it. I've got 2 nice copies removed from the boxes. If you are selling a copy, please let me get that, because I have the Sabbath 8 and a Panini Cantante, which I think is the highest graded. I'm looking for also the other one. So shoot me an email or shoot me a message on social. I'd love to buy that card.
I have a stack of the Pop Stars slabbed here.
Let's take a look at them.
The very first music card that I ever bought, so this is what started it all, was the 75 Pop Stars of Pink Floyd. And this was a PSA 8 when I bought it, and it was like $40. And I was like, $40 for that big old Pink Floyd sticker? I was like, hell yeah. And all I was doing was like buying sports cards at the time. And then I was like, man, Pink Floyd has cards. Let's take a look. And then I just started finding all. And I was like, okay, if they have cards, and does this band have cards? And does this band have cards? So this was the one that started it for me. The very first one I ever owned. And I still have it. This is when I refer to, I relate so much more to my music cards than I do my sports cards. I am not I mean, I played high school sports and all that, but I'm not like, die hard. Hey, I got to be a pro. But it was like the music stuff just had more memories for me. I saw Pink Floyd live in concert the night before my high school graduation, so that was like a huge memory for me, and I got that. I got this because of that, and a lot of it relates to my family members. My mom's youngest sibling, my uncle, was only 10 years older than me, and I am the oldest grandkid in my family. So he was the youngest sibling, and then I was the oldest grandkid if you're looking at generations. So me and him were only like 10 years apart. He was more like my older brother. And that's why I like music that's typically out of my age range. I can name a song from a band and I can almost put myself in that spot. Like it was yesterday, the first time I heard that song or the first time I heard that band, I can recall that moment. And so many of those are with him. So it's like this one, the Pink Floyd wasn't the first time I heard Pink Floyd, but the concert, if you've ever see a Pink Floyd concert or ever had a chance, it's just going to be a mind blowing experience, whether you like their music or not. You're going to have your mind blown, whether you or even know what they're saying. But
so unfortunately, Pink Floyd doesn't tour anymore. But Roger Waters is as close as you can get right now, and I agree. He did a good job with his live performance. And I saw him, he did a completely new version of Comfortably Numb, and it was interesting because they completely removed the guitar solo, which kind of confused me, but it's still really good.
And I was talking about Eric Clapton this week on I know these cards are bigger, but some of the images on these are just awesome.
They're cool.
He's getting ready to shred it up. It's Eric Clapton, and it's like this is Genesis with Phil Collins and Peter Gabriel. When Peter Gabriel's got the face paint on in the front. And this one's graded in an 8. Now my Eric Clapton's only a 5, but I bought these for the image. This is my favorite Led Zeppelin. The picture of them on the airplane or getting on the airplane. Even has John's wife with him in front of him. But it's a cool one because a lot of theirs, you don't get to see all the members of the band or things like that because they're like, you could say action shots. They're actual like concert photos and things like that. So this one I really liked. I owned 2 of these. One I owned in a 5, and then I finally got this one in a 7, and I gave away as a giveaway on my channel the one with the 5 because I wanted, to see if people actually liked this stuff. And there was. People were like, yeah, man, I'll take a look at that. Zeppelin's awesome. And then some of these I just buy them to buy them. There's a Keith Richards. I was showing Rolling Stone stuff earlier. This is not even music related. That's a movie thing that I picked up randomly at a card show. This is a Queen, which
first Panini card of theirs.
Yeah, and I like Queen also, but I'm a huge The Who fan. This is Roger Daltrey, and then the last one is Carlos Santana. Now, I don't listen to a lot of Santana. I like his guitar, but, he's not my first choice when I go to put on the radio. So, like I said, some of this stuff, I just bought them because when I start to collect something, I'm like, I got to have it all. And that's why I really had to limit my sports. But with this, is more affordable. That's what makes it more fun.
It is way more. I'm going to go through some comments, too, because we actually have a ton in there. So, for music cards, wouldn't the rookie card be the first appearance on a licensed product? So I disagree with that notion because if you look at a lot of music cards, they're not licensed. Also, a lot of first music cards are going to be on discs like the 7-Eleven stuff or gum wrappers too. And there's a lot of different forms of it. Like there's music cards that were put in CDs or albums. So it's such a gray area. I think I disagree 100% with the licensed product side things because then you even look overseas, it's like do you think all these Brazil manufacturers got all the different releases, or from Argentina got all the permissions for these bands? I don't think so. I don't even think Panini probably got all those permissions back in the day. So the license stuff, maybe it's a little bit different for sports, but for non-sports, completely disagree with that notion. And then Carl says, I'd rather have a music cards by the album they released that year or a concert I went to that year. I love a lot of concerts. I mean, I go to them all the time. So that's kind of why I'm into music cards. And then Sweet Jimmy Page. Yep, bought 2 from overseas and kept 1 for myself. Caesar, Sicko. It was a joke. For anyone in the music cards, you think, when's the last time I saw this? It was a regional show, monthly, national. You can't find it anywhere. That's the appeal. But I feel like you can find them in Europe. You just can't really find them in U.S. shows. Music cards are made in different countries. Yes, they were made Europe, Australia, and also in America. So they're everywhere.
Brazil or South America, yeah.
South America, yeah. Did I miss South America? Sorry if I did. I thought I said it. But I remember the first time I heard No Doubt, Just a Girl, and Green Jello's 3 Pigs. Flipper is a high-energy music collector, but a low-energy vintage collector. The 75 German Panini was one of the toughest with Gilmore, in my opinion. So, yeah, German Panini over there. I was talking about. I collect Morrissey and the Smiths up to 4 stickers. And then music cards below ceiling, because music collectors are into vinyl, guitar picks, posters, and not cardboard. Plus, ripping music cards were not most people's 80s, 90s experience, in my opinion. What do you think of that one?
I'm glad. Right, because this is like my personal collection. This is like, I'm not, at no point did we come across on this and say, hey, I'm buying these because they're going to be worth a lot of money in the future. I'm buying these because they're like memories. They're affordable. It's fun to chase them. And they're affordable for all the reasons that he just said. So fine, let people buy vinyl and things like that. I will continue to buy cards and stickers because that's what I'm into. You also got to look at it. If you're someone who's transitioning from sports cards into something else, the first thing you're going to look for is a card. You're not going to transition from sports cards to vinyl. But if you're like, I'm a sports card collector, but I have a favorite music band and I'd like to have a card of them. Yeah, it's not like it's a huge demand for it, but I'm a card guy. I'm a card guy first. Then I collect cards of what I like. If I was a vinyl guy first, then I would be collecting vinyl of what I like. So that's kind of like my take on it.
I was going to say, it's so much easier to store this than like a vinyl. Like I have a vinyl back there, not worth anything.
Yeah,
but
I have 2 vinyl albums right down there too.
Like,
I have a Who and a
like
Smith.
This size comparison, like it's so much easier. I mean, you can barely see that. I mean, I see the argument with posters, like people can roll them up. I don't know if that's going to damage the poster or not. And a lot of those are really, really expensive. Autographs get that too. But if you also collect guitars, like how many guitars, like it'll fill up a room really fast. And guitar picks, I don't think are too valuable. I remember in the past I was looking into those, but a lot of them are pretty cheap.
Oh yeah, I've never really looked into that. I'd like to have but how do you even prove though, like if it was used by the person? Like
but that's another thing too, because when a lot of artists get guitar picks, they're given thousands of them to go into tour. So, and at the end of concerts, a lot of guitarists will just grab picks off their stand that they don't even use and throw those out. So are you going to say like those aren't used? And what's stopping someone from literally just grabbing a guitar, strumming it a few times? Oh, it's an officially used guitar pick. So like there's a lot of authenticity questions on that side of things. But
yeah, I would love to have an Eddie Van Halen. I would love to have an Eddie Van Halen guitar pick.
And then license issues on a lot of early music cards are up in the air. There's a lot of blanket license out there in the 70s, 80s under promotional use. It's clear cut today, but less so back then. Yeah, 100% agree. Jay's a huge collector of non-sports, by the way.
Oh, yeah, I know Jay. I met him in
Dallas, right?
Personally at the Chantilly show.
Oh, Chantilly, yep. He sets up there every once in a while.
Yeah, and he has lots of non-sports stuff.
Yep, lots of Disney. He also knows music cards, has some Star Jordans.
But, and even that same argument could be made for like tickets. Tickets were starting to gain some popularity, concert tickets and things like that. But, or not concert tickets, but professional game tickets. It was kind of crossing over from people who collect sports cards. We're kind of looking at tickets. Do people who collect vinyl also collect tickets. You know, if you collect music stuff, are you just restricted to one thing? I mean, how does that work? Who makes those rules? I don't know. Because I have tickets and cards of people that I really like, and I would love to have like a guitar pick or something else. Would I love a first edition Dark Side of the Moon, Pink Floyd, sealed? Yes, I would. But I'm not going to go out and buy every single vinyl album out there for the sake of having a giant collection.
So, a few things. I did not release a video, so I'm kind of confused what video went out. I have one scheduled for tomorrow, but I just looked and it's still unlisted. So I hope nothing got pushed. But then vinyl takes a lot of space. Yep. And then you don't need PSA to grade a CD. Your CD player will do that for you. So that is another interesting thing. I wanted to bring it up last music discussion, but now there's 3 companies that are grading vinyls, grading CDs, and like just grading music memorabilia. It'll be interesting to see if they end up taking on music cards and also the crossover effect of people now chasing graded vinyls. I forget what the one website was where a lot of vinyl collectors go on to purchase stuff, but it's my assumption that people sell it based off a condition base now that there's grading companies out there if they're going to be utilized. No one's associated with a rock magazine out there, and then there's another one that's associated with Stevie Aoki, so completely different genres that are being built up from scratch. But at least to me, it's interesting that it took this long to get vinyl grading, especially when there's like VHS grading and all these other BS stuff that's out there.
Also, see, I wasn't even aware that vinyl wasn't something that's been graded for a long time. I mean, if it was a big collector-based market, you would think something like that.
That's why it shocked me. Like, if I knew more about that type of stuff or had the funds, I would definitely try to do something like that. Obviously, don't have the funds, and I'm not an expert on identifying fakes with vinyls and condition or anything like that because I'm not in that market. But they just announced the first vinyl grading companies about a month ago, maybe a month and a half ago. Time flies. But there's 3 of them now.
The other thing about vinyl is, wouldn't vinyl kind of be like, it's going to almost all have to be vintage, what we would consider vintage? I mean, say, you know, some of the bands that everything that we've shown has kind of been like bands that are older, but we do buy bands that are newer, 90s, 2000s to now, when vinyl wasn't necessarily being made, or if it was being made, if it's being made nowadays, it's being mass produced just like everything else, you know, because everything comes in waves. People want record players again all of a sudden. And, you know, so when you refer to vinyl and collecting a vinyl, it would have to be something that would have some age to it, because that is what would probably make it valuable, unless they're putting out vinyl nowadays and like serial numbering it like prison.
So as funny as it is, they are. So what happens with vinyls, and at least on the modern metal side of things, because that's what I listen to a lot and see promoted, they'll have different color variants, like, oh, only the first 50 people can get a green vinyl, or only the next 100 people can get a blue. So you can chase rainbows now with vinyls with newer bands.
So it's also like that with comic books.
Yeah, so
but they just variant to death. They put out comic books and they put out so many different variant covers.
But you also have the vinyls that are like, is this a first edition print of a vinyl? Is this not? And then you have people that chase autographs on vinyls. So like there's a full niche on that side of things, and there needed to be an authenticity company out there, and there wasn't. And now 3 popped up like within a month, which is cool to see. But I like, at least music collector, I hope there's a crossover. I hope that people that are going to start grading vinyls look into music cards and say, oh, this is kind of cool, and get them into sports cards eventually, because I think it bridges the gap between 2 different hobbies that at least I enjoy.
Well, as somebody that's a Pearl Jam fan, would there be a Pearl Jam 10 album? I mean, that's old 10. Now. I get it. Pearl it is Jam old 10. Now.
10 squared.
But I'm saying Pearl Jam 10, is there a special version of Pearl Jam 10 in vinyl?
Maybe the first edition.
You just hoping to find one sealed and new. You know what I mean?
That's what it is, though, because they have a sealed category and they have an open category. Like, it'll be interesting to see how that builds up over the years. We'll go through a few more comments, too. Ryan can run a marathon and make a video. I did vlog my ultra marathon, so that's not going to go on Breakout's channel, but I'll go my second. And then upload top 10 SJC reveal. So that was yesterday. They uploaded it. It was probably a notification that was broken. And then Floyd pick cards are not real picks, but people thought they were. So there you go. And then agreed. Maybe show their Pearl Jam cards. And then I think that'd be a good stopping point. People want to keep going.
I have would this be the Aerosmith rookie card? This one from the Sgt. Pepper set?
Yes and no. So they have Joe Pies from the 70s, but I'm not too sure of the dating on them. Some people say they're before that, and some people say that they're after. And since I'm not too familiar with the I know they're from magazines, but like distribution year, I can't have like a full answer on what's first. If you're not familiar with Joe Pies, though, they're kind of like, I don't know, they're varying sizes. I actually have them in a box. I could show you, not the Aerosmith, but like some of them are large, some of them are small. Let me actually grab them. I'll show you.
Okay.
Show off some cards, and I'll grab that.
Show off some cards. Yeah, all right, we have another. Well, I'll talk about this one because we both missed this card. We both have this. This is a 1972 Panini Pink Floyd in a PSA 7. And there was a PSA 8 sitting on eBay forever on my watch list. And then, Ryan, I knew you wanted one. And then when it got bought, I thought you bought it. But then you told me that you didn't buy it. And then we were both bumming that someone bought it and we should have just bought it when we saw it. It's kind of like what happens. And then just David Gilmour solo card for the Pink Floyd people out there.
Here's the Joe Pies, by the way, just to show you like size. Like I don't know if I've shown these off on the channel or not. So like here's one for Motorhead. Right, so like you can see that they're perfectly hand cut out of a magazine. Here's one for Billy Joel. So I think this predates his Panini one, but could be wrong. Dire Straits.
Oh yeah.
Then Lizzie. But like this one has a top portion of it, which is pretty cool to see.
And this is the Billy Joel you were talking about, right?
Yeah. So I don't know if
this is a 1980.
Yeah. So some of those over there. Just show you some other stuff too. This is kind of interesting. I know he's a super polarizing character, but I thought this design is so cool. Like, just as a card, is that not like one of the coolest things ever? And I know you're a Clapton fan, so I had to show you this one. So this is a Polydor. I believe this is from '68.
Oh, nice.
So if you're familiar with the small tobacco-sized Polydors, this was way earlier, and these were distributed. I think they're either promotional releases or sent with albums or something like that. So you can see in the back over here too, on that side of things. So I have a few different bands like that. I know someone mentioned Beach Boys. This was a Capitol Records one that was distributed over here. Not a rookie card by any means or a first card, but just something that's kind of cool.
What would be a because I have a Beach Boys card, but I don't know if it's a first or not.
It's escaping me, to be honest with you. They have stuff from 66, I think, 65 maybe.
Here's the one that I have. I have this 67 one.
Okay.
It says 67 Ediciones Este Cantantes y Conjuntos. So it's definitely, it says in Spain.
There you go. Oh, speaking of Pink Floyd, I got to show that too. These are some of the packs that things are put in. Show you guys that. Like this is the size of the picture pop packs. Seller actually sent me one of these just to have. So I definitely have to keep it. I'm not throwing that away. And then the first Pink Floyd card is this one right here. Mine's a beater, just to show you guys. Like I need to upgrade this over time. Mine has paper loss and everything on the back, but that's the front side of it.
Now, see, I am a David Gilmour guy.
So that's another argument, right? So
yeah,
right. It's like, would you rather have?
Fair enough, but when you put on Pink Floyd music, do you put on the Syd Barrett stuff, or do you put on the stuff where they're singing about Syd Barrett? Most of their songs.
So, but that's another argument. That's why I like the 72 is a better card with the band, but that Bergman is way tougher of a card to find on that side of things. I was going to show one other card.
But even when Waters left the band after the Wall album, or when the band split, I don't want to say he left. I don't want to say he was kicked out either. I don't know. There's different stories. But anyway, he wanted to kick out the other band members and just him and Gilmour move forward. And then Gilmour was like, no, I don't want to kick out the other band members. The three of us are just going to tour or go on without you. So after the Wall, Pink Floyd goes on with, three of the remaining members, and Roger Waters goes on to do his thing. But who then is your Pink Floyd? Mine is still David Gilmour with Pink Floyd. I think if you take David Gilmour out of Pink Floyd, they're not Pink Floyd. But if you took Waters out, it wasn't necessarily that you really missed him. Now, with that being said, that's his musicianship. He wrote almost all the songs or had the ideas for the albums and had a huge hand in writing everything. So they wouldn't have had a lot of their songs lyrically anyway without him. But you can't remove David Gilmour's guitar from Pink Floyd and tell me that they're still Pink Floyd. That's just my thought, though. But because their music evokes a lot of emotion, and even though David Gilmour isn't the most technically sound and he isn't a shredder and things like that when it comes to playing the guitar, when it comes to evoking emotion out of his instrument, he's one of the best to be able to do it. That's my thoughts where I stand on the Pink Floyd thing.
Like I said, it's an interesting argument because the first three cards are Bergman's 69, 70, 71 before you get into that Panini in 72. But again, that argument, like, what do people consider the rookie card? Do you consider the major group or the 4, or do you consider the 69? And it's like there's so many arguments on what is a rookie card or what's the first card or like whatever in music, and it's just not applicable to anything else. That'd be like, let's say Albert Pujols had a fantastic second half of his career in Los Angeles, which he didn't, right? But let's say like his first card was in Los Angeles. Like, do we consider that to be the Albert Pujols rookie card? Like in the baseball side of things, just it's so hard to put a label to it. I was gonna show one last thing too. Like even Bravo magazine, this is a 2002 Linkin Park.
That's cool.
So like new stuff's getting discovered all the time in different sets. I'll put these back.
Okay, so you remove David Lee Roth from Van Halen. They still go on to be successful. They sell lots of albums. People like their music. They're a different sound. They are different. Their songwriting is different. They sing more. They're more mellow. They sing a lot more ballads and things like that. But they're still good. They're not a bad band. But if you take Eddie Van Halen out of Van Halen, other than the fact that the band's named after him and his brother, are they successful? If Eddie Van Halen isn't the guitar player, or even Alex Van Halen as the drummer, that's definitely Eddie. But if you take him out and put in another guitar player with David Lee Roth and Mark Anthony and stuff, are they still going to be successful as a band?
Well, I think that's why they stopped
the level that Van Halen was.
That's why they stopped touring also, which is another band that I missed. I did not expect their last tour to be in 2015. 2 concerts back-to-back days, and unfortunately I missed the Van Halen too. So
and I don't get super emotional a whole lot, but I think the day that Eddie passed away, I almost cried because I was so super surprised. Chris Cornell one was tough too, but because then you just realize you're getting older as a person. But there's the Pearl Jam stuff. We talked about that. So here we go. Full band versus
full band is 93.
But I'm just saying the cards themselves. What would you rather have? Would you rather have an Eddie Vedder or would you rather have the complete band?
See, but now it's interesting. Now. It's interesting with Pearl Jam because like Eddie Vedder is such a big character outside of the band as well. He has his own solo stuff.
Right.
Like how many lead singers can play solo stuff and still be a headliner in a festival?
Right. And if you take Eddie Vedder out of Pearl Jam, are they Pearl Jam? Could he go tour with 4 other musicians and play their stuff and not skip a beat?
Yeah. I saw him live with the Earthlings, which, don't get me wrong, it's a super group because you have 2 members of Red Hot Chili Peppers on there.
Mm-hmm.
So, and he still, when he played the Pearl Jam songs, they sounded really good. Although I haven't seen Pearl Jam yet.
And the only way that I can relate this to something that I've seen, and people are going to roast me for this because of Creed. But anyway, Creed, the band Creed, Scott Stapp was out of the band, and he came to a local venue here. Actually, it was just a small bar here at the beach that I live at. And he put on a concert with other musicians. They weren't, they were billed. He was billed as Scott Stapp of Creed, but it wasn't Creed. But if you didn't know any better, you would just say that's Creed because it was his voice, it was his singing, it was the songs, and I can't name another musician in that band. So,
man, you got to listen to Alter Bridge. So I know Alter Bridge. They're one of my favorite bands. So I'm just gonna say Alter Bridge way better than Creed.
I know it's Creed with a new singer, with a different singer.
Miles Kennedy is a million times better. Yes,
but I cannot think of Alter Bridge without thinking about Edge, the wrestler. I don't know. On this day, I see clearly. You know that song?
Yes. I don't know, man. I love Alter
he comes out to that song, and I'm like,
music. You got to listen to their stuff. It's really good.
Yeah, and it's all. Is it religious based? With the word altar?
No, it's not religious based at all.
Because people used to say Creed, had subliminal religious messages and things like that.
No, Mark Tremonti actually plays a lot of insane solos on that side of things, and then Miles Kennedy also plays solos and sings at the same time. Fun fact, though, Miles Kennedy also is the lead singer and plays a little bit of guitar with Slash too, and they trade off licks and different things like that in Slash's band.
So Brendan Ryan has a comment down here that I can.
The Quiet Riot one, yes.
Quiet Riot. So yeah, I bartended in a rock and roll nightclub back in 2000, and Quiet Riot. We used to get a lot of bands that were past their heyday, and Quiet Riot came, and Kevin DeBro was still there, and of course he was wearing a wig at the time, so he looked like he was going bald in the '80s when they were on MTV, and he comes in with a full head of long black hair. Like a wig. But anyway, he's Kevin DeBrow has passed away now. Anyway, the lead singer from Quiet Riot. But original guitar player from Quiet Riot was Randy Rhoads, who then went on to be the guitar player for Ozzy Osbourne. That was ultimately the downfall of Quiet Riot. Too. Yeah, he died in a plane accident. But Quiet Riot put out a couple hits on their first album with Randy Rhoads, and then when he left the band, it was no more. So
what the sad thing is, Skynyrd's going to be like that too, because their last founding member ended up passing away, so they're just going to slowly turn into that.
Oh, did he just pass? Was that Gary Rossington or?
I think so. He just passed away. So. Oh,
if he just passed this month, yeah, because Billy Powell, the piano player. So who survived It was really Ronnie Van Sant.
3 members that survived the crash.
No, there was 4, right? Because Ronnie Van Sant, Stephen Gaines, and Cassie Gaines died in the accident. Stephen Gaines was one of the guitar players. Cassie Gaines was a backup singer. They were brother and sister. And then Ronnie Van Sant passed away. But Billy Powell, the piano player, lived. Artemis Pyle, the drummer, lived. But he left the band immediately. He didn't go on with Johnny Van Sant because he said his thought was Lynyrd Skynyrd died that day on the plane crash when Lynyrd Skynyrd died with Ronnie Van Sant is what he said. So even though Artemis Pyle lived, he didn't continue on with the band when they started going again, the original drummer. And then you had Alan Collins, right? And Gary Rossington. They were also 2 of the guitar players. And you had Leon Wilkes, who was the bass player. I think I'm hitting mainly everybody. But they all died throughout the years. I know Billy Powell passed away a few years back, and I thought Gary Rossington was the last main living member, because Alan Collins ended up dying also. He had complications from a car accident again where he was driving. The song That Smell by Lynyrd Skynyrd, Oh, That Smell, was written about Gary Rossington getting into a car accident, drinking and driving. They wrote that song back then, if he's the one that just died.
Also, Eric said Randy Rhoads had left Quiet Riot before they hit it big.
He was on, he played on their hits that hit the radio. I remember watching an interview with Kevin DeBrow talking about as soon as we hit it big, as soon as we got on MTV, Randy Rhoads left. Because they are considered to be the first heavy metal video to ever hit MTV with, was it Come On Feel the Noise or was it Metal Hell? I can't remember.
Can't tell you. I didn't watch MTV.
I think it was Come On Feel the Noise, but I'm not 100% sure. We got talking a lot about music, and we really got off track of the cards.
Oh, shoot. I thought we were still showing cards. And then Ozzy's in a band. Most people don't care about the rest of the band. They care about the guitarist, though. What's his name? He has his own solo band. Come on.
From
Ozzy Osbourne's guitarist has a solo band. He's playing in Pantera right now, but the name is escaping me.
Oh, he's talking about when Ozzy's the lead singer of a band, you don't necessarily care about the rest of the band members that he's in. But with Black Sabbath, I mean, when he was young, Tony Iommi's pretty popular, I would say. They credit him with coming up with the heavy metal sound because he was missing his fingertips on his. I knew the name. Zach Wilde. A lot of people care about. Oh,
Zach
yeah,
Wilde.
Black Label Society.
Yeah, so Zach Wilde's the guitarist for Ozzy. So a lot of people still will watch Black Label Society. I mean, I've seen them live at Rockville, and they were close to Pantera back in the day too. He wrote one of his songs as a tribute.
All right, so I have a question.
Sure.
What is like one music card that you've been walking along at a sports card show and look down in the case and be like, holy crap, I didn't even know that card existed. This card was I have one that was pretty early on for me also. And I had no idea what it was, what it exists. Neither did the person selling it. So when we came up to a price on it, we had to just kind of agree.
Let's see it. So I've only seen music cards a few times at shows, but I've seen all those cards before, so I kind of knew them. I once came across 72 Cantantes at a local card show in South Carolina, of all places, and then I just scooped up the Pink Floyds and also the Led Zeppelins for like $30, $40 a pop. Okay,
this one. Well, I knew that this artist had cards, but I didn't know that anything like this was like made. This is actually, I'm going to get roasted. But anyway, I got a Michael Jackson card that was a relic card. And the guy who had this is a big time sports card dealer. Like I see him at all the shows. Like he's a guy that hangs out with like Prism Cod. And they had all kinds of massive sports cards. And he had this sitting in there at a Philly show. And I was like, dude, what's up with the Michael Jackson card? It wasn't graded at the time. I graded it. So SGC grades these. But he's like, I don't know. I just saw it and I had to get it from somebody. And I'm like, well, I want to get it from you. And we had no idea. But this was one of the first cards that popped up at a show because most of all my other stuff, like you said, you have to buy online. You don't see them at the shows.
The other thing, too, about Michael Jackson is the whole hobby has the rookie card wrong or the first card or whatever you want to say, because all the grading companies label his Victoria Vedette as a 69 when it's a fourth series Vedette in 1973 release. So that's off by 4 years. Jackson 5 first card 71. And then Michael Jackson has solo cards from Australia in 1972. And he also, Jackson 5 has a Panini card in 1972. And then you go to 73, he has the Monty Gum cards, which PSA wonderfully has labeled as 1972, as well as the 1974 Monty Gum circles. All the years are wrong, and no one did any research there. But
so
for another day.
What would be the actual first Michael Jackson rookie card then? Like if you're looking for it, like.
So if I applied like baseball logic or football card logic, the rookie cards, which again, we don't fully know because what the first card still could be out there. 71 Bergman is the first card with Michael Jackson actually on it. And then 72 has his first solo cards. He has 2, I believe, in the set from Tip Top, Australia. And Jackson 5 also has cards from Australia in that set. And 72 also has Panini Cantantes. Then Michael Jackson's second solo cards are from 1973, which he is in a few different sets with Monty Gum.
Okay.
And also the Victoria Vedette that was labeled as a 1969. It's a 73 card. So
is that a bread set?
What happened?
Is there one that's issued from a bread company?
Tip Top. Yeah, 72.
Oh, that's the Tip Top set. Okay. Okay.
So those are the first solo individual cards. Don't believe everyone saying the 69 Michael Jackson is the rookie. It is not the rookie card. It's a 1973 card. Both SGC and PSA have it wrong. They haven't fixed it. They need to fix it because it's like a big implication. People spend hundreds of dollars on this card when it's distributed in 73 and it isn't rare at all. Like there's hundreds of them out there.
Okay. Just curious. But you don't have one that popped up?
I have one Bergman 71, but the problem is that's the toughest of the Bergman years. And mine doesn't have a back. And the grading companies will not grade anything that does not have a back. So I can't get it graded right now. But like when I tell you they're like almost impossible to find, they're almost impossible to find. Like it took forever to find one with the back removed.
Okay, so Eric Perkins is saying Metal Health came out in 83 and Randy was already dead. Is that when the video came out or the song released or the album or was the song written? I'm not sure.
I was laughing at Brendan Ryan's comment. We'll keep going.
Oh, pull it back up.
You're going to laugh at this one?
No. Okay, so keep the Michael Jackson talk to a minimum. We don't want to trigger a sports reckoning if he is listening. I'm pretty sure he's probably listening because he likes our content. I know everybody hates that he like yells at us and stuff, but that's like, I think that's therapeutic for him. And that's his style of video. But I like his Michael Jackson stuff. I don't like when he talks bad about my friends and stuff in the hobby, but I like his Michael Jackson stuff. I mean, like, it's just good. It's just good research and it's a good story. And, you know, even if you're someone that doesn't believe that it's true, it's still a good story. I intend to leaning on the side of the fence that it's true. But this relates to another story that I watched one time that someone did like a documentary or something called The Real Paul McCartney is Dead. Have you ever heard about that?
I heard people thinking that he was dead, but don't know the full story on it. Like he wasn't in Beatles albums or not Beatles album, but like in Beatles advertising and different things like that for a little bit.
Yeah, and people, the people putting it together, they put together a lot of good facts to put it together. And they said this is when he died in this car accident. They did a lookalike contest on like American Bandstand or something to find somebody that looked like him. And a guy named William Campbell looked like him, but he couldn't play the bass left-handed. And that's why Paul stopped playing the bass after a certain year or whatever in concert. And then, you know, the subliminal messages on the Yellow Submarine album about how the Yellow Submarine is underground and it's supposed to be like a tomb with Paul McCartney in it because he's down and the other four Beatles are standing at the top looking down at it and things like that. So I don't know. It's very, very interesting. But then they came out and said, oh, this was all a hoax. This is just all stuff that could point to this happening. But that was it. But like when I think of that, and then I think of the sports reckoning thing, I think like, man, this is like a lot of this stuff is like legit. Like people don't act and say certain things that, you know, that they say and do like in some of these videos that I've watched. Now, yeah, I wish he would lighten up on some people, things like that. But that, I mean, that's just my honest thoughts and, you know, not condoning some of the things that he says about people, but as far as this Michael Jackson story goes, it's good, whether you think it's entertaining or you think it's real, you know, but that's my take.
Gotcha. Maybe let's show one more card. We'll do any last questions. I can't believe it's already 2 hours. So I try to go to bed by at least 10 o'clock and get off technology. And I'm like, holy crap, almost 2 hours, man.
Well, I'm about, 25% through my case. So we'll have to do a part 2 or something sometime. And I'm constantly having new stuff come in. The newest stuff that hasn't even made it into my case yet is still sitting here. Aretha Franklin, 1968 Cantanti. This is a great picture of her. And yeah, and the Eddie and the Van Halens, 2 of them, 85 smash hits. This is one of my favorite stickers out there. PSA 8, highest grade in PSA. SGC 8.5, highest grade amongst all graders.
I'm gonna have to get my off-back graded eventually. I gotta find out about that, but it'll. I don't know if it'd be an 8 or not, but it'd be interesting to get that at least into a pop report.
The walrus was Paul, black carnation. Mike Betty must be talking about the real the real Paul McCartney is dead thing.
Yep.
So and this was the cool ticket. The ticket.
Oh, let's see that. And I'll fund the ticket because I know you're super proud of that one.
We'll end on the ticket because the ticket, I bid on an auction for this ticket and I lost. And I was talking, it was the night of me, you, and Dustin were on Off Centered. And I said, guys, I lost an auction for a ticket tonight, which is a ticket from the Michael Jackson Victory Tour, but it's when Eddie Van Halen showed up out of nowhere. Eddie Van Halen is like my top, I don't know, like I just have Eddie Van Halen, he's an awesome musician. And the first music video I ever watched with my uncle, who I was talking about earlier, was Jump by Van Halen. Because he was telling me about David Lee Roth. He was like, you got to watch this guy. He's going to do backflips and splits and shit. And I remember that as a kid vividly. But then I remember like Eddie Van Halen jamming the guitar and playing the keyboard. And I was like, that dude right there is the badass one. That's the one you should be talking about. So Eddie, like I said, I almost cried when he passed away. But anyway, he did the solo for for Beat It for Michael Jackson. I don't know if a lot of people don't know that because I don't even know if they put it in the credits of the album. But he did the guitar solo for that song in studio, but they never played together live in person. And then in 1984 in Dallas, when the Jackson Victory Tour was going on, scheduling fluke just happened to have Eddie Van Halen in town that Friday night. And he showed up when they performed to Beat It with unannounced and everything. Nobody even knew. He came out on the stage. At first, he even started playing and his guitar wasn't even plugged in yet.
Seriously?
They had to hurry up and plug in his guitar. And he just out of nowhere, like, you're there to see like somebody there. I would have went to a Michael Jackson concert back in the day if I would have had a chance. I was younger, but that would have been cool. But to see Eddie come out on stage then would have just blown my mind. Now, for most people, it would be the other way around. Michael Jackson was the bigger star back then, but I don't know. So this ticket has like a pop of 11 total graded. So because it's not ripped, it's still got the perforated. This piece gets ripped off the bottom when you enter the concert. So. And it's a cool looking ticket. Look at the colors and stuff on it.
It's nice.
Like the only other ticket I even have is from Woodstock on the Sunday morning that Jimi Hendrix played the national anthem. So, and this is a PSA 8. This is also unripped. It still has the perforated piece here. This would get torn off. So these are the only two tickets that I have. I've looked up tickets of John Bonham's last performance. I've looked up tickets of Eddie's last performance. I've looked up Keith Moon stuff. I can't find anything. And then the thing about nowadays is all your tickets are on Ticketmaster or on your phone app and things like that. I actually have real tickets from the Pearl Jam concert I went to in Italy in 2018 when I went to Rome to see him. And I have big, nice yellow tickets that they gave out for that concert for the European tour. But other than that, my wife and daughter, they go to concerts all the time because I always have to work, but they're all, you know it is. You go to concerts all the time. Yeah. You don't get actual tickets.
You don't. You get to travel, at least for me, when I travel to card shows, I'll try to line up. The one concert I'm lucky, or I haven't fully booked it yet, but small band, or not really a small band, but kind of like indie band, Postal Service is finally back after 10 years or so for one last tour. And then they also have Transatlanticism by Death Cab. They're going to be playing both their albums, Don't Give Up and Transatlanticism. But they're going to be there that Thursday for the Philly show upcoming in September, I think. So I'm going to fly in that Thursday, get a ticket beforehand, obviously, to go to that show and see it. Because I'm not going to see a chance to see the Postal Service again, most likely 10 years or so, every tour. And then also Transatlanticism is one of my favorite albums just to listen to, especially in travel. It's like to see both on the same night is kind of cool. So hopefully for that. And as I said, the one duo that I want to see it happen, I don't know if it'll happen or not. But Deftones has a song with Maynard from Tool, and they're both going to be playing on Sunday at Rockville. So there's potential for Maynard to sing that song with Chino. I don't think it's going to happen, but like I might buy a ticket to Rockville on that Sunday just to see the chance, the possibility. And I haven't seen the Deftones yet, so I think it'd be kind of cool to see.
Yeah, I've never seen. I plan on going to Spain this fall, and I'm going to look and see if there's any bands playing either in Barcelona, Madrid, or Seville. That's probably the three cities I'm going to go to. Definitely Madrid and definitely those three. I might go elsewhere. It just depends on how much time I want to spend. But I want to try to catch a soccer game. I'm going to be going in September, so La Liga should be starting back up. I'd like to catch Barca at home, but if not, I might have to catch like Real Madrid in Madrid. Although I want to watch Lewandowski. I want to see Barcelona. So, but I also hope that maybe a band is over there playing that I would like to see. It's kind of vice versa. When I went to Italy, I planned my trip around Pearl Jam being there. I knew I was going to go to Italy. I just didn't know when. And then when I was like, okay, Pearl Jam's going to be in Rome on these days, I said to my wife and my daughter, okay, this is when we're going. I said, and on this day and at this night, I don't care what you guys are doing, but I will be at the soccer stadium watching Pearl Jam. But anyway, they went with me. So
I lucked out with my first national because of that. Just same weekend, my family was going to go for Lollapalooza for the day, and national was the same week. So got to do both events. Unfortunately, it doesn't line up this year, but I'm going to see Avenged Sevenfold. I think it's on that Friday. Paul's in the chat still, but me and him are both going to that.
That was the Chicago one, right?
Yeah. You want to go?
Yeah. I remember when you were going to a concert at the same time.
There's no. So, all right. There's a Lollapalooza again, another national. This was like 2019, I think, or 2018. I think it was 2019. The last national in Chicago, I ended up going to a after show where they had Jimmy Eat World playing at the Metro or something like that. And usually
I remember there being a show or something in Chicago or something that we were.
Yeah, so Jimmy Eat World was playing Bleed America in full. So I was like, yeah, I'm going to go buy a ticket and go see that. And it was really fun to do. But luckily, every time I've gone to the National, there's been a good concert there.
What day are you going to the National this year?
I think Thursday through Saturday or Sunday. I haven't even booked stuff besides the concert.
I'm going Wednesday and I'm flying out Sunday morning. So I'll be there Wednesday through Saturday night. But I'm trying to do more than just the card show this time.
Go to Avenged Sevenfold. Go hang out with me and Paul.
Oh, so that's going on this national.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. I like Avenged Sevenfold, so yeah.
And I forgot the headline, or not the headliner. The supporting act is a pretty good band too that doesn't tour that often. God, it's escaping me. Paul, if you're here, put it in here. Also, I should say, you guys are still here. It's been a marathon. It's been 2 hours, but
I know.
Subscribe to the Flipping Steve YouTube channel, Instagram as well. You're pretty active on, and if you guys want to get your cards graded, we have our SGC reveal video coming out tomorrow. This is kind of a sneak peek in there. Queens of the Stone Age 2002 Coachella, like the Ty Cobb here. So we're doing bulk subs, $18 once you get the 40 cards plus one free card. So you save $100 on average. And I can drop them off at shows if I'm there too, so save you on shipping costs back. And everything's fully insured. Dude, it's been fun. 2 hours though.
Yeah, I have to. Yeah, I know. You got to go to bed. Yeah, I actually got to work in the morning too.
Thank you for staying this long. I did not expect it to go 2 hours. And
oh no, I feel like I hung you up, like because I could go. Like I'm the type of person. Once I get going, man. It's like,
dude, I could run talk about music cards for hours upon hours.
Yeah, ask people in the chat if they've met me at a card show. They'll come up and be like, "Hey, Flippin' Steve, how are you doing?" And then I end up talking to them so long to the point to where they gotta be like, "I gotta get away from this guy."
Dude, that shows that let's walk and talk and see cards because like you talk too much. But all right, guys, thank you. We'll be back next Thursday. I don't even know if I booked anything for next Thursday or not. I got to check my calendar. But there's a few other things I want to get eventually on the channel. I want to get someone.
Just let me know. I got 3 more weeks worth of stuff. So
I'm trying to get someone that focuses on European cards so I can pick their brain before going over to Europe. So like an F1 collector or a soccer/football collector or someone like that specializes in European cards. So that way, like, all right, so this is what I need to look out for.
Yeah. Oh, non-sports card show in Philly in May.
I have to know what dates. If it's during the Dallas weekend, I have to go to Dallas because I have like 500 plus cards to drop off at ComC.
Yeah, I'm not sure. But I know that there is one.
I know. I want to go to it, but if it's the same weekend as Dallas, I kind of have to go to Dallas because I just have too much inventory tied in like ComC stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. All right, guys. All right. I'll see you guys next Thursday.
See ya.